From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In the NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Every December, Santa Claus literally does the impossible. He delivers presents all over the world with a team of flying reindeer. So when someone becomes a stand-in for Santa at your local mall or your office party, those are big boots to fill. But as it turns out, being Santa is a teachable skill. Susan Mesko founded Professional Santa Claus School in Denver in 1983. That means she has 4 decades of expertise in getting your local Santa acting and looking his best.
When my Santas do their beard, the beard has to be conditioned, it has to be whitened, it has to be curled, it has to be sprayed, it has to be glittered. It makes them more magical.
Susan got her start back in 1982 when her event planning business got an offer to train and manage some Santas at local malls. And she saw a lot of room for improvement.
And so I went around spying on my competitor. What I actually found was everything not to do. Mommies were miserable. Children were being forced at Santa. Santa was cranky and slouchy and his beard was falling off. So I went to work writing kind of a manual, and it evolved over the years.
Since then, she says she's trained more than 5,000 Santas. Susan talked with me last December about what makes a great Santa and what keeps her business thriving. We're listening back to that conversation today. Susan began by explaining how she helps her students embrace the role of Santa.
Well, it starts really with the basics so that they understand the children, that a 3-year-old needs something very different than a 6-year-old would need.
Sure.
How to do their makeup so that their faces look like storybook Santas. How to adjust their pillows so they don't look like they just took a pillow off of their bed and shoved it in. How to work with hesitant children so children are never forced. There's a formula for how to answer any impossible question. So it starts with the basics of being Santa, how to think like Santa, how to dress like Santa, activities that Santa would do at the North Pole. So working with the Santas to really introduce them so that they're not just the guy down the street that threw on a Party City Santa suit.
Right. And I know one of the classes you offer is called a Santa Mindset class. What do you do in this class, and why do your Santas need this training?
Think about Santa when he's got to be in that chair for somewhere between 2, 4, 6, 8 hours. For him to remain in that character for the 287th child that comes in.
Yeah.
What Santa needs to do is stay in character so that he can have fun. So there's lots of little things that the Santas need to do. And it's easier to start thinking like Santa. So I make them go through, what do they do each day when they get up in the morning, and then they go check the reindeer, and then they have to have a meeting, with the elf department and check on the toy inventory and really start thinking this 3-dimensional life that Santa has.
Okay.
So that is a 5-hour class that I teach.
Wow. So your Santas have a backstory and a morning routine as Santa. Kids these days grow up in a difficult world. They might be on Santa's lap and bring up concerns about guns or natural disasters. How do you prepare your Santas for those kinds of questions?
Children are so exposed to so much media, and there's so much information that comes at them. When those children actually bring their heartfelt concerns to Santa, sometimes it seems like nobody will listen, and so they will come to Santa with questions like, I'm being bullied, or I'm afraid to go to school, or I saw my friend had a gun, or 3 of my friends got killed, or my house got burned down by the fire in Louisville. These are things that are so real that children are participating in today, that Santa really needs to know how to respond, to be sensitive to without going over the top, because in a Santa visit of 2.5 minutes, we cannot do 3 months worth of therapy.
Right.
So we have to realize that we are one step along the way. So it's a lot more complicated to be a quality Santa in today's day and age than it used to be.
I know they only have limited time with the children. How does a Santa respond to a kid who raises a sensitive issue?
Well, first they have to listen, and then they have to validate that child's feelings. So no matter what they're feeling, if they're feeling afraid, if they're feeling mad, if they're feeling sad, angry, whatever that feeling is that the child has, Santa validates that. And then Santa says, I remember a time when I felt that way. So let's say grandma has died. We're going to talk about, oh, your grandma was so wonderful. I know that you miss her. I miss my grandma too. What was your favorite thing about your grandma? Her cookies, or I got to go in the garden with her, or she sewed my Halloween costume, or she used to read to me, or she gave me good hugs. And then remembering and talking about, well, that's what we want to remember about grandma. And then we usually have the Santa say, because the child wants grandma to come back from heaven. So Santa goes, well, I can't bring grandma back from heaven. But sometimes when I'm with my special team of reindeer, we fly really, really high. And sometimes we go to heaven. So could you whisper in my ear what you would like Santa to tell your grandmother? And then they'll tell Santa, and they'll say, would you like me to give your grandma one of your magic hugs? So they'll give Santa a hug that he's going to take up to grandma. And so we haven't fixed it. Grandma's still dead, sadly, but the child now feels heard, feels compassion, and feels a little more soothed.
That just brought tears to my eyes, Susan. After 4 decades of teaching Santa school, what is it that makes someone a great Santa Claus?
I say this all the time. I don't buy beards, belts, buckles, boots. You can put the most expensive outfit on someone who's just in it for the money, or someone who's in it for the ego or the glory.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about Santa suits really until about 5, 6 months into it. So I think what makes a great Santa is their heart, their commitment, and not just their love of children, but we work with a lot of memory care units and seniors, and just making sure that every single person gets to experience the Santa that they need through the love that can shine through Santa's heart.
Susan Mesko, founder of Professional Santa Claus School in Denver, thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you, Erin. And we did check. You are on the nice list.
Thank goodness. I didn't want to ask, but thank you. Susan Mesko spoke with me last December. If you want to learn more about Professional Santa Claus School, there's a link in our show notes and at kunc.org. That's it today for In the NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.